Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Living on Rocky Top podcast, affiliated with the Daily Beacon and the Volunteer Channel. I'm Karsten Hoagland.
And I'm Isla Rosa. Today with us is Rylie West, a senior outfielder on the Lady Vols softball team, who's also a two-time SEC champion. She's currently pursuing a degree in journalism. Rylie, thanks for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
So tell us where you're from and why you decided to come to UT.
So I'm from Southern California, a bit away. I decided on UT just because it felt like home when I got here, and I wanted to compete at the highest level for softball, and the SEC is the best conference in the country. So I just wanted to compete and make myself the best player I could be. And then like when you visit campus, it just like, it feels like home, like the brick buildings, the people here, they're so kind. And yeah, coming from California, I just like the Southern hospitality was just like the cherry on top. So
for sure. So tell us a little bit about your experience with softball at UT, being a student athlete, all of that.
So being a student athlete is definitely challenging, definitely grown a lot since I've been here. But I've also been a part of like two different kinds of programs in the sense that we've had the same coaches, but we have had success, and then early in my career we haven't had that much success. And by success I mean making it to the World Series, having a long postseason run. So freshman and sophomore year are kind of really challenging because we'd have a pretty good season, and then we get to postseason and we just didn't come out on top, which was pretty hard. But later, and then this past year, my junior year, we won the SEC regular season, and then we got to the World Series. So it was just kind of like the hard work put in my past 2 years and the team's past 2 years, finally like we saw it in postseason, and it was just a really special year for us. But yeah, being a student athlete, it's challenging, but I don't think I would change it for anything. It helps me way beyond the sport. Just the everyday grind I know it's gonna help me once I finish college, once I have a career. So yeah. I love it. I wouldn't change it.
Awesome. So you mentioned winning the SEC championship and going to the World Series. What were you feeling in that moment?
I honestly cried. Yeah, I'm a pretty emotional person. But so SEC regular season, so we won that, and that's like playing 5-6 series against different teams. So that was really special because it's such a long season. So that part I was really emotional because the way that the game was, we were down, and then one of my teammates hit a home run. So that was awesome. Then after SEC tournament, there's another week, and you go to after SEC regular season, you go to the tournament. Tournament, we had a bye because we won the SEC, and so we ended up winning the tournament too, which was really cool, but it wasn't as special, I think, as regular season because it's not as long. It's a weekend tournament. And then after that, postseason comes, and then that's like it doesn't matter what's happened. It's everyone's record's the same. It's a tournament style, but it's 3 weeks until you get to the World Series. And that's like what you prepare for your whole entire life, honestly, because that's what you see on TV. You see as a little girl, you see your role models on TV. And so we've been heartbroken the past 2 years coming into that same stage. And so, yeah, we played Texas in Super Regionals, which is the final stage to get to the top 8 to go to the World Series. And I remember the last out, I was running in from left field, just like had tears coming down my eyes because I was like, this is my dream. Like the little girl in me was running. And then all the hard work we put in throughout the year, like I remember getting to the circle and be like, all the running was worth it, all the conditioning was worth it. But yeah, just a dream come true, the World Series, all of it, yeah.
That's amazing.
That's incredible. First of all, congrats.
Yeah,
Thank you.
2 times, that's insane.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
That's awesome.
So you mentioned role models.
Yes.
Now you are a role model for those little girls.
Yes.
What advice do you give them, and what do you try to be as a role model?
As a role model, I'll start with as a role model, what do I try to be? I just try and be as positive as possible. I just feel like life is very short, and I'm not going to waste a day complaining or being negative about the hardships that we go through. Yes, like we can acknowledge them, but I want to be as positive as possible and just like shine a light on like the opportunities that we're given. And so that's the kind of role model I want to be. What was the second part that you asked me?
What advice would you give to those little girls?
The little girls, I would give them just to live in the moment. There's so much of my career that I was worried about something in the future, worried about something in the past, and I wasn't grounded in the moment. And I feel like, I feel like I've learned from that. So I'm not regretful of that, but my last season coming up, I just like want to experience the moment for what it is and not make it too big. Because that's another thing. You make things too big because you're on TV or you're at the highest level and you don't really enjoy what you're doing at times. So I just want them to know that like it's not a life or death situation if you get a hit or you don't. It's more of live in the moment with your best friends because you only have 4 years to do it.
Right.
So enjoy every single thing.
And as a senior, what are you going to miss the most?
Definitely the community and then the resources. So community aspect, like I'm never going to have 24 best friends every single day doing something that we love together.
Right.
Yes, in my career, I hope I'm in a spot where I love everyone I'm around,
Right.
but there's never going to be another opportunity to be with these group of girls in college, just like living our best lives, but also playing a sport we love. And
You're
then
like a family, sort of.
It is a family.
Yeah.
Like I know everything about these girls, so I'm gonna miss that for sure. And then also the resources. Being a student athlete, you get the top tier resources, whether that's academics, mental health, physical health, nutrition. And so I'm definitely gonna miss how many people at this point in my life are pouring into me. But yeah, and then those same people who are pouring into me, like you have been with them for 4 years. And so just the community, the family, just the Vol family, I'm gonna miss so much. But
do you think you'll stay around Knoxville or do you think you'll head back home to California?
that's funny because I'm trying to figure that out right now. I think everything's up in the air and I'm open to anything just because of being in journalism. You don't know where it's gonna take you.
Right.
I love Knoxville so much. I could see myself being here for forever just because I love this city. But also I have so much family back in California and so that's like a hard thing to decide. Like, do I stay out here or do I go home and be with my family? I don't know, but whatever God's plan is, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us what's the daily life of a student athlete?
Yes. So I would say this semester is probably my busiest semester just because I'm involved in a bunch of like hands-on journalism work. I can give you like a Monday day in my life, I guess. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have weights and lift at 6:30 a.m. So I'll get up at 6, I'm not gonna lie, and I'll leave by 6:10. Like I'll have my stuff laid out.
You get there, you get there.
Yes, exactly. As long as I'm on time. So
there.
I'll get as much sleep as possible. So I have 6:30 a.m. weights, and then we go to Smokies as a team afterwards and have breakfast, and then I have a 9 a.m. class. So 6:30, 7:30 working out, get down there about 7:45, eat, relax, debrief the lift that we just had. I'll walk to class 9 to 10. Then at 10, I'll usually meet a couple teammates and study at Thornton, which is like the athletics academic center. So then we'll do studying, and then I have my sports journalism class or sports video production class, and then we'll run that show from like 11:45 to 1, and then straight from there I'll go grab lunch from Smokies, and then I'll hustle to the field. Usually we'll start like 2:30, and then from 2:30 to about like 5:30 we'll practice, and then I'll usually come home if I'm not like filming for a show or if I don't have any meetings. That's a good day. If I'm like I can go home and just make dinner and just relax. But if not, I'll have like either meetings or extra stuff, even if it's like NIL, something with NIL. But yeah, it's pretty busy. But I feel like if I am not doing a lot of things, like on the off day, I usually plan like meetings and all that type of stuff. But still, I'm like, I need to be doing something. I like
That's
always
me.
do
Staying
something.
busy.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. So you mentioned some shows you're involved in.
Yes.
Do you care to talk about which shows you're involved in?
So I said sports video production. So I'm kind of an anchor on air type talent for that, or reporter. So that's one of the shows, which yes, it is a class, but since I'm on the on air type side of it, it's a lot of out of class work. So this week I actually did a package on a volleyball player, Caroline Kerr, and so I was out of class, going to their practice, interviewing her. So that show, and then also I do a show with the Players Lounge called the O'Reilly Show with Amari Thomas from football. And that's just like, it's just really fun because it's just a conversation like this, and we get to talk sports, but we get to talk about sports not just in the way that the media sees them. It's like direct content from student athletes, and we can get into like the nitty gritty conversation. So after they lost to Florida, we had an episode Sunday right after they got home, late Saturday, and we were just able to talk about like the struggles that it is being a student athlete. And it's not just the normal content that you see of, what did you guys do this week to prepare? Like, we talk about that, but then we also talk about, okay, like, what are you feeling right now? What are the actual struggles that people don't see on social media or in the media? So yeah, I'm a part of like 2 small things right now. It's hard to add a bunch of stuff into my schedule, but like, I love it still.
Yeah. So you mentioned the struggles. What are the struggles of being a student athlete?
First, sleep.
Yeah.
But I think you get used to it. I think some of the struggles that I've gone through, my sophomore year especially, is after you're freshman and you're like, freshman year you're new to everything. Sophomore year you kind of are like, okay, like, let's step it up. Like, I need to be on the field more. You have higher expectations for yourself. I mean, at least for me, but a lot of my teammates have felt the same. And so you kind of put pressure on yourself, not only to perform, to be on the field and make your school proud and the fans proud, but you start putting pressure on yourself to make your family like proud of you and where you've come from. And even some of the girls from really small hometowns put pressure on themselves to like show their hometown like they're doing so much. So I would say that along with all the social media, all that stuff, it's just you're in the media's eyes so much, and you think about that too often as an athlete this day and age, that the pressure just really gets to you. And I can't even imagine like the football player pressure,
I mean, like
because
Milton after
like
game,
I can't even imagine that, because obviously football is like the highest scale of college sports and people watch that the most, but just like this past year of getting more attention because of our success has shown a little bit more. But yeah, it's just a struggle that you have to know when pressure is good and you're putting good pressure on yourself, or pressure is becoming too much where you make your sport your entire identity. And that's just like the wrong path to go down. Like, sport is not who we are. So
and I feel like fans don't realize like y'all are students still.
Yeah.
Like, you're not NFL players or you're like student athletes are students.
Yeah, so I wish fans thought twice before they sent a mean text or a mean DM, because I have friends in football and also teammates that like, people do see it as much as you try and avoid it. Like, you're going to see a notification pop up of someone mad at you for a game, and I'm just like, nowhere within the sports world is it. This is a life or death situation that's going to determine something greater. Like, it's meant to be fun. It's meant to be watched. Yes, we hold ourselves to a high standard, and yes, we want to make the fans proud of us and what we're doing to represent the school. But in no way should an athlete receive terrible DMs, terrible messages for a sport that's meant to bring joy to people. So I just wish fans knew that like their words are very felt, and just think twice before you tweet something when you're upset about a game. And plus, you have no idea what student athletes are going through. Like, we take our mental health very seriously, and that's because we're like grinding day in and day out, and people don't see that. So you have no idea what a student athlete's going through before you might send a text or you might send a DM out of frustration for a game that they played an hour ago, you know? So I wish fans knew that or thought twice, but.
You're human. We're all human.
Exactly.
We all
student
make mistakes.
athlete, human.
Above all else, human. That's what I'm saying. It's not our identity. Our whole sport's not our identity. We have lives outside of it, although it might consume most of our day right now, but
so what does recruitment look like for student athletes? Because I know some people kind of walk on, but some are recruited. Like, what is that whole process?
So shockingly enough, the rule has changed, but I got recruited the summer of my 8th grade year, which is insane, because I'm like, how old are you in 8th grade? Like 13 maybe?
Yeah, like 13, 14.
13, 14. So I got recruited and that's when it was legal, and people just recruiting as young as possible to get the girls when they were young. So I got recruited 8th grade, and then freshman year I came on a visit here. I loved it then, and I still love it now, which I'm like, thank God 14-year-old me was smart enough to stick with that decision. But since then, the rule has changed, and I'm so thankful, because think about like, if you see your friends getting recruited in 8th grade, you're already going through so much in 8th grade, like the transition of about to go to high school, and it puts a toll on your mental health when you're already in 8th grade, because you're like, why am I not getting recruited at the same level as?
Right.
So luckily the rule changed, and now you cannot talk to college coaches until September 1st of your junior year. Okay. So you've obviously matured a lot more, and so it's actually way better. And like, I don't regret getting recruited at that age, just because I still love this place as much as I loved it then. But I'm glad that the girls get a little bit more time to develop into who they're going to be and like know what they're going to do, because obviously in 8th grade you might think you're going to do something in college and pick a college that is really good in that like career, basically, and then by the time you get there, you're like, I don't even want to do that anymore. So junior year, September 1st, you're allowed to talk, and then for us, we do a lot of our recruiting now during football season. We bring them to football games, but yeah, it's really, I love recruiting. Like, it's fun.
I can't imagine being recruited at 14.
No.
Like, I wasn't even thinking about college. I had no idea what I wanted to do yet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I know. When it was like junior year and it's like, where do you want to go? I'm like, I haven't thought of
that.
that.
I sold it though.
Sophomore,
yeah.
8th grade, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I'm so glad the rules changed, because I don't even know how I was even thinking about that.
I know, right?
Yeah. I guess it's good that it felt like home when I got here, rather than going somewhere and making a decision because I felt like I had to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I know. My cousins right now, my aunt actually held them back a year for football.
Yeah, that's very normal,
Yeah, and they're now 9th graders, but they're trying to get like eventually recruited, and they go to like practices and all that. For those kids that are in that position, what advice do you give for that specifically?
Specifically when you're getting recruited, I would say the best piece of advice is, number one, before the actual part of like going to visit colleges, I would say when you're playing, try and play as free as possible. Don't think about who's in the stands, because at the end of the day, you're going to end up exactly where you're supposed to be.
Right.
If one day a college coach is there seeing you and you don't have your best day, don't even worry about it. There are so many places and you will find your home. So I would say play as free as possible, because you don't want to look back at your high school days and be like, dang, I was playing like uptight because I knew people were in the stands and I wasn't at my best. Just go out full-fledged and just play as free as possible. Fly around the field. Just be you. And it's even more special to know that you played being you, and then the coach still loved you and wanted you to come. So that's like the before you get recruited. Second, I would actually say it's hard for a lot of people, because people want to go where their parents have gone, or what's like a really awesome school at the time. But I would say don't have a number one choice of school. Be open to all options, and be most interested in the schools that want you the most, because if you're interested in a school that wants you the most, when you step on campus, you're going to be wanted, rather than you have a dream school, maybe they don't want you that much, and you're there and you might be miserable once you get there. I would say don't have a number one choice. It's hard as that may seem, because people always have a dream school, but be open to all options and go somewhere where they want you that much.
Yeah.
Because when you step on campus, it's just going to be, like, you're going to feel wanted, and it's always good to be somewhere where you're wanted and they want you to succeed, rather than just going somewhere because you had a dream and you envisioned it a certain way.
Right. Do you think that Tennessee made you feel like that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Coach Karen, Coach Ralph, like, they made me feel wanted, and that's a part of recruiting. But yeah, I just like, it felt like home, and then I felt like the people wanted me there, and I was like, if I'm going to be honest, Tennessee wasn't like, I didn't have a number one choice in school, which is why I think it helped me find home. And Tennessee wasn't even far up on my list of like, I came and I was like, we'll see what happens.
Right.
And when I came here, and I was like, the way that the coaches felt like family, and the girls felt like family, and I felt like this is where I need to come, because these people like aren't going to invest in me, not only as a player, but as a person. So yeah, definitely felt wanted when I got here.
Yeah.
I love that.
I hope my cousin finds it. I also have a cousin who's a student athlete. He's a sophomore at Farragut, and he plays basketball.
Okay.
And he's like, hasn't really thought about college, but like he has like a dream school, I think, but like he doesn't really know yet. And so I just wish him luck during recruitment because it's crazy.
Yeah, it's very interesting hearing how people have dream schools and it's like they only want to go there and then they visit and maybe the coach has changed or it's not how it is when they go visit, and then it's like, well, I only thought of that school in my future, so now what am I supposed to do? So that's why I'm like, have your eyes open to all options, visit multiple places. And plus, if that dream school stays your dream school and you visit other places, those other places will confirm that your dream school and that place is where you're meant to be even more.
Right.
So even if you have that dream school, just visit other places to confirm where you're supposed to be at.
That's good advice. Say. Really good advice.
Yeah.
So what would you say sets the SEC apart from other conferences? Because you mentioned the SEC being so high up. What do you really know, like, the difference between the SEC and, like?
I would say first thing you would just need to look at the facilities and the campuses. Like the SEC, the way that they pour into athletes with their top tier facilities, like we're going to have a new, I won't be here, but the softball facilities are changing. Football's already renovating theirs. And so the facilities and how they're able to pour into their athletes are amazing. And that has a lot to do with how big football is. Obviously, football drives a lot of college sports and how much football is on TV. So that's just like the underlying reason. But because they're able to be on TV throughout all their games, be on prime time, the 3:30 game, they're gonna bring in money, and that money is like given to all the student athletes. So you have to look at football. The SEC has a ton of football teams ranked, and at any given day, like we lost to Florida when they were unranked. So it's like the same thing for softball. Every single softball team, I think there's 13 softball teams. I want to say 12 of them made the postseason tournament. So we just have the best of the best competition going against each other. So that sets us apart in that aspect. I would also say that the SEC fans, like people in the South, go absolutely crazy for college sports. And I don't think you see that around the country, the West Coast, the Midwest. I just don't think you see as driven fans for their college. I want to say like everyone in Tennessee, if it's Saturday, whether you're East Tennessee, West Tennessee, you are watching the Vols play. And I feel like that goes for the same when it's in softball season. I'm just like, I feel like the whole state of Tennessee is rooting for us. Like it just sets us apart because the fans are so diehard, and that's like Saturday, you know what you're doing. If a sport is playing, you know who you're going for if you live in Tennessee. And that, along with the school, the atmosphere, the administration, it's just different. And it feels different. Like when I play at another SEC school, I just feel like this is like big time. And then if I'm not playing at SEC school, if I'm playing in different country, different conference, I just feel a difference. It's just the facilities, everything just different. So
definitely a different vibe.
Oh for sure.
My parents love to come to games here because I'm from like Florida.
Okay,
So like people say it's southern, but like
I don't think Florida's fully
Florida.
But when they come here, they're like, this is completely different. Everybody's in orange, like not like that.
And I grew up on the West Coast, obviously. I grew up going to USC games or UCLA games, and it's just different. Like the way that fans will pack out Neyland, 102,000, not even during an SEC team compared
like
to
Austin
West.
P.
It's crazy. I just think West Coast football versus SEC football is just like such a difference. So.
That's awesome. So you mentioned revenue coming in from student athletes on the football team and also other sports. How do students handle that? Like all of that money coming in, like at such a young age? So
NIL or like, because the university like
NIL.
NIL basically. It's interesting. NIL is kind of new. And it's kind of still, we're figuring out like the yeses and nos about it. Luckily here on campus or here at Tennessee, for women, there's the Lady Vol Boost Her Club. And it's a booster club just devoted for female athletes. And there's like no other program or company in the country that just delegates everything to the women. And it's just a really special time because there's people who care about women's sports so much. So that's basically the women's sports on campus, our way of like doing NIL events, whether that's a camp with girls teaching them softball, whether that's meeting donors, doing football tailgates with donors, anything like that. But it's just so awesome that people are pouring into us in that way. And then the men's side of things, they have a different collective. But yeah, NIL, it's kind of hard to navigate because it's so new.
Yeah.
But personally, having the Lady Vol Booster Club helps me like navigate through it, and I'm so thankful for them and what they've done for me. It's just, I don't know. I'm just Tennessee. I could talk about Tennessee all day, but there's just like no other place in the country that has something like that pours into their student athletes and just like wants the best for them. They're like not money hungry. They want the best for us. So yeah.
That's really
awesome.
cool.
I'm glad you have a program like that.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah.
I'm sure that helps with like the stress.
Stress, like just the everyday things. Like a lot of people think NIL is just, oh, I'm going to go buy this and I'm going to buy this. But if I'm going to be honest, for a lot of athletes, it's like day-to-day things. It's like, maybe I want a couple, I don't know, like even if it's groceries or something. Like NIL helps student athletes so much beyond what people have an envision of, like, oh, they have an NIL deal, they're just going to buy some shoes or they're going to buy a car or something. Like, it's just, NIL helps so much, and I'm so thankful that I'm in college during this time because it's obviously fairly new, so.
Yeah, and would you say that helps a lot of student athletes?
Oh, yeah, a lot of student athletes. I'm just thinking of, so the Lady Vol Booster Club, we did jerseys, so everyone got like a jersey, and we posted it all over social media for friends and family to buy, and I'm just thinking like, every single girl on our team sold jerseys. So as silly as that might sound, like every single girl on our team, whether they play every single inning or don't, they're getting NIL revenue. And they're able to, whether that's save it, help out with Christmas, save it for next month, have help with going and get groceries or even buying, like, I don't know, but for every single girl on a team, that's like pretty amazing.
And like y'all don't really have time for your job. Like,
no, exactly.
So that kind of fills that gap for people that have to work to pay for college.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So since we're all journalism students,
yes,
I have to ask: do you think it's helped that you're in journalism to understand like the sports broadcasting and more the in and outs of sports?
Yes, 100%. I feel like this is like the perfect college for an athlete, just because I have so many I'm in sports writing, I'm in sports production, and I know so much about sports because of like growing up and playing multiple sports, and I think it's just the perfect crossover because yes, I'm the athlete, I can get like the inside scoop about athletics and add that into my assignments. And then also I'm getting to learn a lot about like what goes on while I'm playing in the press box, what goes on when you're writing bios, what goes on when you're writing sports stories. So I just feel like being a journalism student and being an athlete is just the perfect mix because I'm able to learn so much and then put in so much into my work. So.
For sure. And I feel like it almost breaks down that like fourth wall with the media because essentially like you're a part of it as well.
Exactly.
So you know how they work, you know how their brains writing stuff. And
you know what's behind the fourth wall.
So that's kind of helped with the show that O and I do because we're able to break down that wall. We're giving the inside scoop. So we're able to like play our sport and then give all the information about it, and then also create our own narrative, so it's coming directly from us, so it's not twisted anyway.
Right.
So,
media can be very biased.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's for sure. So you mentioned the Players Lounge. How did that come about? Is that something you started or Amari? Or?
So the Players Lounge has been around for a while. They work a lot with Georgia football because Aaron Murray is like a part of the Players Lounge. Anyways, so in the last summer, Amari and I, and then a couple of our other friends, were like, dang, like we should do like a sports podcast, do a sports show, something as kind of like a memory bank for our senior year.
Right.
And like, so we can look back and be like, we went through all of this during our senior year, like recap all the games that we've played. And so we had talked about during the summer kind of, and then the Players Lounge reached out to Amari about doing a show, bringing the Players Lounge to Tennessee because they're obviously at Georgia, have a lot of success there. So then Amari was like, so, like, bless his heart, because he was like, I think it would be really awesome to bring Rylie onto the show, because we had been talking about it, but there's not a show with a male student athlete and a female student athlete.
That's true.
So he was like, how about we do this? And then they hopped on board. They're like, yes. And then we had a couple meetings about it, and then got to film right before their first football game.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. Thankful for Amari, because he like put me on the show. Like, he asked to do it that way, because they easily could have been like, yeah, you and your best friend on the football team, let's do a show, let's do it just like Georgia. But he wanted to be different. I'm really thankful for that. And then especially including women's sports at his level. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I noticed you said bless your heart. So
that's something I picked up here. Yeah.
That's a Southern saying.
That's so Southern.
Yeah. So moving from California to East Tennessee, what has been like your favorite thing about the South?
I would say like the pace of life.
Okay.
Like, people are not in an extreme rush to go somewhere. They're not honking at you. They're not tailgating. They're not just like crazy drivers. Yeah, they're just, the pace of life is slower in a good way. It's not too slow, but it's like, I don't feel like rushed, and I don't feel like when I'm driving, people are going to be like swerving around. Like, I just feel a lot calmer. And then also just the people in the South, so sweet. Like, walking down the street, if it's a morning and I'm walking past someone, they're like, good morning, how are you? I'm just like, number one, are you talking to me?
Right.
But yeah, just that. And then I think also on the more serious side of things, I feel like my perspective of life has changed a lot. I've met so many people from so many different backgrounds, so many different places. And yes, when you go to college, you learn about a bunch of different people. But I think coming from the West Coast and how different the South is, and then the stereotypes about each versus each other, I think my eyes have been opened that like, people are different, and it's totally okay. And you can have different beliefs, you can have different backgrounds, you can have different views, but that doesn't decide everything about them. And I just feel very thankful to have moved out here, and I feel like everything happens for a reason. So I'm a changed person for the better, and I'm just so much more open to all ideas and all views and beliefs and everything.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
That's awesome.
So moving to the South, what if you were to go back to California, what would you miss about campus? And
like I said, I would miss.
It's a big if. I know you haven't really thought about it yet.
I would miss the relationships, obviously, but I think I'd also miss just like the river behind us. Yeah. I'd miss the changing leaves. Like, the leaves are changing outside right now.
Yeah.
As crazy as it sounds, I'd miss the weather, just because there's true seasons here. At home in California, it's like warm and hot. It's not like you don't get, so the fact that like you get warm, and then you get chill, and then you can get snow. And yes, I'm not a big fan of the cold, but just like, I'm not gonna be burning up 24/7.
Right.
Like, I remember at Christmas last year in California, it was 82 degrees.
Oh gosh.
And I was just like, it doesn't feel like Christmas. Like,
right.
Christmas is supposed to, on the movies, there's snow outside. It's just like hot cocoa, and I'm like, I'm not drinking hot cocoa on Christmas. But yeah, I don't know where I'm gonna be like I said, but if I was, it's definitely number one, the relationships, but number two, just like the aspect of the South, just how beautiful it is, just how beautiful campus is, just Knoxville in general.
Right. Well, we wish you good luck with wherever life takes you.
Yeah, thank
you. We hope you stay in Knoxville. I mean, I would say Knoxville's pretty good news.
I mean, I'm from Florida, so that shock, like, it's funny because you mentioned like the brick, like here, that's something I said, like when I went home, I was like, there's so much brick here, like I don't know what it is, like there probably isn't, like Florida obviously, but like that was just something like architectural that stood out, and I was like, it's just those little things that you're gonna miss.
It is the little things.
The little things in life.
It is.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today and talking about life as an athlete and what it means to you to be a student athlete, a female student athlete.
Thank you all so much for having me. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
I feel like it's always good that athletes are able to kind of talk beyond what you see.
Right. And hear your story.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, what you see in the public eye is a lot different than what goes on behind the scenes.
So, yes, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Journalism.
Just journalism, students talking.
Yeah. That's a wrap of this week's episode of Living on Rocky Top.
Once again, Rylie, thank you for being here.
I'm Carson Hoagland.
And I'm Isla Rosa, and we'll see you next time.